Bula, I'm in Fiji, guys, and the cool thing about this community is that everybody has a goal, is to become the best version of a coach and business owner that they can possibly be. And I just interviewed somebody, his name is Toby. Here's the thing. When we first met, he had a goal to get his business from where it was to over $1 million. Been doing it for 15 years. And in the podcast we just shot, he answered one very important question. What was that question?
How to become or grow a successful coaching business. But I actually gave you a question in the end, which will help you get exactly that.
Okay, that question at the end, I promise if you actually listen to it and let it sink in, if you're stuck at below $1 million and you've been there for a while, that question is going to be the unlock that can take you over the top.
I can almost guarantee that you've never been asked this question either.
Probably not.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see you inside on the
Content Capitalist Podcast.
Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Content Capitalist Podcast. I'm on site again. We're still in Fiji. And this is a person who I've watched grow his coaching business very rapidly. He was at a stage where he's surrounded by people who are doing $1 million-ish. And he's just like, I want to do that. And very rapidly, he got to $1 million plus. And I'm going to ask him, what was the most important thing that you think made that switch from cruising along at a certain financial level to where you are now? So, Toby, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. I think, first of all, you can make $1 million pretty fast and pretty easily, but can you do it sustainably year in, year out and keep growing?
Yeah.
And I think that's a distinction, because I don't want to come and be like, yeah, it's just this and it's just this hack. And for me, that's not longevity. And so I think it's a multi-answer response. The first one is you've got to play the long game. So many coaches and so many people in this industry, they're playing the short game and they're thinking, how can I just hit that number and that's it? But when you play the long game, you're not thinking actually about yourself. You're thinking about your people. And not just your people as in your clients, but your team. And so like I've gone from like me as a sole trader to, a company with 17 team members right now. We're helping people in 65 countries. We're helping thousands of people. And I think if it wasn't the fact that I had this long-term mindset, not a selfish, quick fix goal, which I used to be like many years ago, chasing the shiny object syndrome, that's what's enabled me to have sustained success over the last 15 years, particularly in the last 5 years of growth.
So you've been a coach for 15 years. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah.
And how long was this period where you were under $1 million but wanted to hit that, like kind of like cruising along? There might have been a plateau, it might have been like a bumpy up and down. Could you tell me about how that, the majority of those years were?
So the first 10 years was under $1 million, but I was successful. I hit every goal that I was aiming for. And so
every sub-million goal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it didn't really matter because, there's like that saying, once you earn 120,000 a year, your kind of happiness levels don't go up. And so I got way beyond that. But once I hit those kind of numbers, the money wasn't really the thing. It wasn't the driving force. And again, it just came back. I was playing the short game. I was chasing shiny objects.
Tell me about some of these shiny objects.
Yeah, so a perfect. Okay, this was the sliding doors moment. So I had a team of maybe 5 or 6 people. Yeah. Business was doing well, maybe 300-400 grand a year.
It's Australian?
Australian. Yeah, live in Australia. And, all my friends, all my peers, like, man, you're crushing it, like, you're killing it, you're doing amazing things. And so the ceiling was that ceiling, because I was like, that is my ceiling. I don't need more. I'm happy. But then I was kind of chasing fast money. And so what I was doing is, with the money that I was earning, I was trading Bitcoin, I was trading crypto, I was share trading. And at one point I was going to close down my business because I was so overwhelmed with all the different moving parts. I was like, I'm just going to shut it down, remortgage my house and trade shares online. Which is the
You're
stupidest...
going to shut down
kill the
golden goose
This
here.
is years ago, right? This is years ago, right? And I just don't know anything about shares. I think I made 2,000 in a day on my first day of putting money on.
That's
shares.
the worst thing that could happen.
Worst thing, yeah, totally. I was like, oh fuck. I was like, this is easy. And I remember calling my mum and dad. I'm like, Mum and Dad, I think I'm just going to remortgage my house. I'm just going to day trade. Like, it's so easy. And Mum and Dad said, maybe Toby, just settle down, have a think about it. And I watched a video from Sam Ovens one night in my office in Sydney. And I was kind of like, why aren't I growing any faster? Like, why aren't I going to 40K months, 50, 60, 70, whatever, and going beyond $1 million? And I watched this video from Sam Ovens and he said, you don't rise to your highest standards, you fall to your lowest standards. And he said, every single person in the world has a number in their bank account. And that's the number that's in their bank account. And I was like, holy shit, right? Like, do you have a number in your bank account?
What do you mean by a number?
If it
savings,
goes below this, right? It's not okay.
Then I don't know.
And maybe unconsciously, like for me, it was an unconscious thing. It wasn't like, I have to always have $100,000 in my bank account, but it was like, if it went under like $50,000 in my bank account, that's not okay. Like that was my mindset. And of course, it didn't grow beyond $50,000 in my bank account. So it was such a simple concept. And he said, rule number 10, stop chasing shiny object syndrome. He said, play the long game. And it was crazy. I called my dad and I was like, Dad, like I told him the concept about the lower standards versus the rising to the higher standards. He said, oh, that makes total sense. I said, have you got a number in your bank account? He said, yeah, I always have. And I said, has it always been the same? He said, yeah. And so all I did literally in my mind was like, all right, I'm going to raise the minimum number in my bank account.
You make that sound like you could just flip a switch.
Literally.
But I think that even if I give myself a new number, I don't know if it's really going to sink in and become a new part of my identity.
I'll let you know the kicker.
How did you do that?
Yeah, so...
Did you like go mortgage something crazy?
No.
Minimum
So
payments?
this is what I did. I literally, that moment, I hung up on my dad. I said, I'm going to sell all my shares and I'm going to go all in on my business. Fully. Not like half, 50-50. And I sold everything.
So you cleared every distraction.
Cleared every
besides
distraction.
the
Well,
main
a question
thing
I
you're
asked myself is, even if I made $1 million on Bitcoin in 6 months, would it be worth it? And the answer was no. Because the value and the impact that I can make in the world is much greater than any amount of Bitcoin can make me.
So right now you have no other investments, like you cashed out.
Now I do.
Now, you went back in.
Not Bitcoin, but houses, property, and mostly property.
But that's not like an active type
I'm not trying to, it's a long term.
And you wouldn't consider like, I'm going to do this instead of coaching. Like,
fuck no. No, that's secondary. And what
that's a very technical word in Australia.
Fuck no, absolutely. Yeah. What was crazy though is, so I literally went back to my office, sold all my shares, sold everything, even at a loss. I didn't even care anymore. It's like an energetic exchange. I was like, it's done. I'm going all in. And I was like, the question was, if I spent the same amount of time and energy on the distractions that I was doing and I put that into my company, how much more potential do we have? And it was unlimited. And you've seen my growth over the last 3 years. It's been unlimited. And the crazy thing was, the switch was, I sat back in my office and I was like, well, what does it look like to be up here? That new lower standard. And my mind literally started to come up with ideas to create that level of impact and wealth.
So give me some examples of some of the things I want in your mind. Like, what would it be like? Was this like yachts? Was it a car?
No. Again, nothing to do with selfish.
So this is, I'm asking this, let's get clear. Like, I think there's people out there who want to have that same transformation. And they need some examples. So can we help them out?
Absolutely. First of all, it wasn't about yachts or anything that's kind of, a luxury item for materialistic gains. It wasn't about that. It was, who do I need to become to run and own a purpose-driven multi-million-dollar business?
Can you describe that person to me?
Organized, plans way ahead, everything that I wasn't doing. Right? Like, I wasn't an organized person. I didn't like planning. I hated fucking planning the next day. My general manager who's behind the scenes, she can attest to this. But now we plan the whole year out in advance, my personal life and my business life.
How long did it take to make that switch from not doing it and hating it to now consistently doing it?
I just decided.
It's a decision.
Yeah. So for me, when I make a decision, I'm in. Like, I don't need time.
Just like your decision to get one of these go boxes and take them home.
Maybe. But there's a buying process that I need to go through to make that decision. But once I've sold, then I decide and I'm all in. One of my greatest gifts is I'm a fast action taker. Sometimes it's at the detriment to my team because I can take the actions too fast
and destabilize.
The
plan,
and
right?
That's another level of leadership that I needed to learn, is to slow down my decision-making processes so that the whole team is with me and we're doing this together versus me versus them. But the most important one was literally just raising my own level of behavior and actions that imitated the person I wanted to be, or the person I needed to become in order to have the company that I wanted to have. And over time, of course, then your mind starts to think, well, what would it look like? Who are the people that you would serve? How would you serve them? How could you reach that many people? How could you deliver to that many more people? And that's how it all unfolded, And so we're doing the same thing, but we're just doing it at a much higher level.
So if I were to look at a timeline of when you made the decision to become the person who can have and run $1 million business, to when it was actualized.
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah. And one of the things that I came up with, and I'm going to shout out Taki Moore and Scott Alford for this. Those two guys are incredible. But Taki says, sell the life raft before you sell the boat. And in this day and age, we need to have more trust before we buy, particularly if it's a good product and service. And so I was like, all right, what could I create that's going to add a shit ton of value in this person's life that's quite inexpensive for the cost of actual monetary value in terms of what they get back. And so I came up with this idea. I literally pulled the trigger. I remember calling my team. I was like, this is what we're going to do. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think it will. And sure enough, that was the thing that raised our, impact and revenue simultaneously within weeks.
That's something.
And all we've done is just double down. And one of my oldest mentors, Len Warson, if you ever hear this, shout out to you. He's an incredible man. He said to me, the key to success is the thing that you're doing, make it successful. And once it's successful, I thought he was going to say, go and do something else, which is what I've always done in the past. He goes, you make it even better. And then once you make it even better, you make it even more successful. And so that's all I've done, rinse and repeat for the last 5 years is just, I haven't left the long-term game. I haven't got distracted. I see so many more smarter people than me, way more intellectual than me, but they're not playing the long game. And they keep literally getting off the long game road and they're wondering why they're not succeeding. They're not committed enough. Like they're not committed to the actual cause or the purpose of where they want to go in their life and the impact they want to make.
Wow. I kind of feel like you're speaking to me in a few ways.
Great. That's good. Yeah.
What do you say about people who tell themselves, and I think they may be sincere or they may be deluded, where they say, you know what, I'm making like 150,000 and that's all I need. Anybody who wants more is greedy. I have a balanced life.
Selfishness. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you like, have you had clients say that? And do you see your past version of yourself being that?
I dealt with that. I was really opposed to being selfish. I thought selfish was a bad thing. I spoke to a lady called Cindy O'Meara, a very successful lady, about this years ago. I said, I feel bad about being successful. And she said, what's wrong with being successful? I said, I don't know, I think people perceive me wrongly.
Yeah.
And I'm a sensitive person. I'm a pretty genuine person. I'm not really a materialistic guy. I like nice things, but it's not who I am. And she said, Toby, there's nothing wrong with being selfish. And to hear that from a lady who's in her 60s, who's done huge amounts of money her entire career, was incredible. And then the second thing I said would replace the word selfishness with self-fullness. If you think about it, the more successful I get, the more the people around me become successful too. And the more impact that makes on them. And then their families' lives change.
Yeah.
And then it's generational.
I like that, self-fullness. It kind of makes me feel like your self has expanded in capacity, in presence, in experience. Therefore, you're just so much more effective. You can help more people, including yourself. There's just more of you.
You get out of your own way. Right? Like you're not going, oh, what are they going to think of me? What do I do? It's like, no, you just own who you are. Be brutally honest with what you want and who you want to become. And then I think wealth is so important. I think purpose-driven businesses are the most important thing in the world because we wouldn't be talking today if it wasn't that case, right? Like it literally changes the entire world. And so some people have this weird story about money, that money's bad. Money's just a tool and it's how you use it that matters the most, right?
Yeah.
And I think if it's coming from pure intention, it can only be for the greater good.
Yeah.
But if you're using it for egotistical gains, which I did when I was in my 20s, you know, most of us have gone through that because the culture says, buy the expensive car, you know, show the flashy things. That is what happiness is. But we all go through that journey and realize none of that matters.
Promotes, you know?
Exactly. And most of it's bullshit.
Rented.
It's rented. Exactly. And so, you know, what I try and do is I watch the world and watch the culture and I try and do the opposite of what almost everyone's doing.
I want to respect your time. I know you've got a fight to catch at some point, but I want to wrap this up with something. And one thing I've learned is that a lot of times you could hear amazing advice and it all makes sense here, but then it doesn't really drop here because all that's happening is you've seen a million pieces of good advice on social media, in books, wherever. But when you're asked the right question, then you have to internally process it and come up with the answer. So there's somebody watching this video and they're going to be at a stage like you were at. They've got something that is successful but not scaling. And just by listening to you, they've realized it's all the distractions that are stopping them from going. Now, intellectually it's there. What question would you ask them that when they answer, they will get as close as possible to making that shift, to actually deciding and executing?
Why are you being so selfish playing small? Like, think about all the people that don't get to benefit from your work because you're being so selfish for playing small in the first place. Like, that's what selfishness is. Playing small. So who do you have to become to be of service to the people that need you? You know, like, you've got something good, clearly, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. But Who do you need to become to make the impact that is within you?
That's perfect. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being on the show, Toby. We're going to put all your links down below. If you guys want to follow him, check down below. There's going to be links to him on his social media. Is there a website
Instagram, Toby J. Morrison, and then, for our company name, it's CFS Health, and, you'll see our work there.
And let's say that, everybody knows what a lead magnet is. Is there something that somebody could download to learn more about what you do and potentially?
Yeah, for sure. Just go to cfshealth.com. We have CFS.
Yes.
For Choice, Freedom, Success, health.com.
All right, go check it out, guys. And I'm sure it's going to be something super valuable. And I'm just going to pre-assume that because this guy is somebody I feel I've known for a long time. I've seen how people talk about him, interact with him, and I've seen how he is so generous with everything he does.
Well,
I expect nothing less than something generous from anything that he's going to refer you to. If you're listening to the podcast, go to the show notes. If you're on YouTube, go to the description. And you had something.
I was going to say, my goal is just to create a business that I'm extremely proud of. It's not a revenue goal. It's nothing selfish. It's just like, how can I just create a business that I'm extremely proud of, that my team's proud of, that the people that we work with are proud of? And ultimately, if you do that, you've done your job, you can rest easy.
That's it.
Thanks, brother.
That's a really good one. Guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end or listening all the way to the end. That's Toby Morrison, and I will see you next week.
No hustle, worship here, we're a different breed. Action is what we got if action is what you need. Content capitalists, we're breaking the mold. Cause the old ways fade, new stories to the toe. So content capitalists, get to the prize.